What's goody with y'all, man? Yo, what's up with y'all, man? Yo, this is Reef'Lik.
And this is Leaky
And this is Reef'Lik.
Anime Horror Gang.
What's goody with y'all, man? We got another video, man.
Tonight we're going to be reacting to MR.BALLEN.
Yo, man, shout out to MrBALLEN, man. You know you the GOAT, man, with these videos, man. We haven't checked him out for a good while, so, you know, it's good to, like, you know, see what else he got new and stuff like that. And he got a few new videos, so we're going to definitely check him out and stuff like that, man. We hope y'all enjoy him as well, man. Shout out to MrBALLEN, man.
So please like, comment, subscribe, and join our big happy family.
Yes, man. Join the family, man. Anime Horror Gang, man. Once you join the family, you're a supreme guy. You're a loser. You're a supreme loser, man. You already know, man. Yo, we love y'all so much, man. Please subscribe to our family, man. Sorry, man. We almost at 500, man. You already know, man. Yo, we gotta celebrate about that, man, because that's a big accomplishment for us, man. You already know, man. Yeah, so please like, comment, subscribe, man. Sit back, relax, man, and let's begin. Anime Horror Gang. Let's get it. Alright, y'all, this MrBALLEN video is called craSh's Dark Secret Revealed in a Taco Bell. So y'all already know how Taco Bell is. We've been, you know, they've been coming out with a couple of stories these past couple of years and stuff like that. And yo, now it's like, man, I never heard this story before, and we always go to Taco Bell and stuff. You already know, get the what's that drink called? The Mountain Dew, the Baja Blast and stuff. We be getting the Crunch Wraps and stuff, man. The Dorito tacos, the 12 pack and stuff. You already know, man. Yo, man, Taco Bell be bomb, man, bomb as fuck. When you're on a hungry night, that be bomb.
Yeah, like when you come home from work.
Yeah, man, or coming from school or something like that, and you got one near y'all and stuff. Yo, man, you already know, man. Taco Bell be that place, man. And with the sour cream, man, with all the mid-mile hot sauce and stuff, we always get hot, y'all. Y'all already know. And the hard shells be it. I love soft shell tacos, but the hard shells be it.
I mostly like the burritos, though, so.
Yeah, like, you already know, y'all, but we don't want to reminisce about Taco Bell, and it's a horror story about Taco Bell, and we don't want to talk about the good of it. So, let's get right into this, man. Shout out to MrBALLEN, man. You already know. Please show him some love, man. Subscribe to him as well. Subscribe to us as well, man. Anime Horror Gang. Let's get it.
In the fall of 2004, an undercover police officer in Texas was standing in line inside of a fast food restaurant when he turned around to scan the room. Now, he acted like he was just kind of nonchalantly looking around, kind of people watching, the way people do when they're waiting in lines. But he really wasn't doing that. In reality, what he was doing was taking a quick glimpse of two people eating by the window inside of this restaurant that he had been following all day that day. But when he took this quick glimpse of these two people, he noticed something totally bizarre that he had not caught earlier in the day. And as soon as he saw it, the hairs in the back of his neck stood up, and almost unconsciously he reached down and put his hand on his concealed gun underneath his shirt, and then he tapped his partner, who was also undercover, right next to him, and then the two of them walked straight over to the two people. But before we get into that story, if you're a fan of the strange, dark, mysterious, delivered in story format, then you've come to the right place, because that's all we do, and we upload once a week. So, if that's of interest to you, on the next very hot day, take the like button out to a public park, and as soon as they need to use the bathroom, point them in the direction of a porta-john, and then when they go inside, immediately wrap it up in saran wrap, and then dish it over.
That's
also,
wild.
all notifications, so you don't miss any of our weekly uploads. Okay, let's get into today's story.
Alright, MrBALLEN. A carefully led plan.
On the evening of June 17th, 2004, a 21-year-old woman named Molly Daniels pulled into the driveway of her little home that she shared with her husband and two kids in suburban Texas.
Oh, okay.
It had been a long day for Molly at the home remodeling business where she worked as a receptionist, and so now that she was home, the last thing she wanted to do was go inside and make dinner for her family. And so, after turning off her car, Molly just sat there in the driveway for a couple of minutes, just zoned out looking out the window, but eventually she kind of snapped out of it, she gathered up her things, she got out of the car, and she made her way up to the front door. And as soon as she stepped into her home, that bad mood she was feeling from work was wiped away and replaced with happiness.
I'm not gonna lie, y'all, like, I'm not gonna pause it a lot, but when you come from work knowing that you had like a bullshit day, or you just had a day like you're just tired as fuck from work. Like, trust me, y'all, me and Leaky Leak be working and stuff like that. But when we come home and when we actually walk through them doors, all the day from what happened at work goes away, and I be in the bed sleeping like a baby, yo. I know we don't have that much time to sleep and stuff like that, but when you hit them sheets after you take a shower and you ate and then you hit the sheet, oh my god, y'all, that'd be the best feeling of the world. And our rooms be cold and stuff too, so when I lay down, I just be in heaven until that clock rings.
Because the first thing she heard the second she was in her home was the sound of her 4-year-old son, Caleb, hysterically laughing. And so Molly walked into the back room and she found her son, along with her husband, Clay, rolling around on the ground, kicking each other. And next to them was their 1-year-old daughter sitting on the rug, laughing as well and clapping and watching along. And so as soon as Molly walked into the room, Clay, who was underneath Caleb, stopped for a second and grinned up at Molly. Molly smiled back, and then Clay and Caleb went back to wrestling, and the 1-year-old continued to laugh and play along. And so Molly suddenly felt so content with her life. It was so incredible to have a family of her own. And so, with a big smile on her face now, she headed off into the kitchen to make dinner. Life had been tough financially.
Having a family to go back to.
The city where they lived, called Leander, was located just north of Austin, Texas.
Alright, y'all live in a good part? Oh my goodness.
Clay, who was 2 years older than Molly, he was 23, he was a mechanic, but he had been out of work for months, and so he had just been staying home with the kids. As for Molly, she had her job as a receptionist, but it paid very little, and so ultimately the family was just barely scraping by. But despite the financial hardship they were under, Molly was so thankful that she had a husband in Clay that was so good with their kids, especially Caleb, the 4-year-old son, because Caleb was actually Molly's son from a previous relationship, and she was worried that maybe Clay wouldn't necessarily treat him like his own, but Clay had totally stepped up to the plate and become Caleb's father, and Caleb definitely viewed Clay as his dad, and so that relationship was as close as if they were biologically related. And so Molly just felt so grateful for that.
Creating your first video? You should start with the music. Go to artlist.io and get high quality music and sound effects for any type of video you want to create. For example,
that evening, the family sat down and had dinner together, and then afterwards, Molly and Clay got the kids off to bed, and then Molly and Clay stayed up and watched TV together. But after a while, Molly said she was tired and she was going to go to bed. Clay said he'd be staying up for a bit longer, and so the couple kissed, said goodnight, and Molly made her way upstairs. At around 10:45 p.m. that night, so about 15 minutes after Molly went upstairs, she was laying in bed, drifting off to sleep, when she heard the sound of their front door open and then shut, and then she heard the sound of their car being turned on and leaving the driveway. Now, this was not a big deal for Molly, because earlier that night, Clay had mentioned kind of offhandedly that he wanted to go see his mom that night, that he might swing over there and say hello. He had a couple of paperback books that he wanted to give her, and so Molly knew there was a chance he could be doing that, and so she assumed that had to be what she was hearing, and so she forgot about it and fell asleep. The next morning, when Molly woke up at 6 a.m., she rolled over and she saw Clay was not in bed with her. Now, she wasn't immediately alarmed by this, because it wasn't unusual for Clay to get up really early. And so Molly climbed out of bed, she made her way over to the window, and she looked down at the driveway, expecting to see their car back, meaning Clay would be downstairs somewhere. But she looked in the driveway, there was no car. And so suddenly feeling kind of panicked, Molly went downstairs and looked around the house. Clay wasn't there, and so she picked up the phone and she called Clay's mother. And when Clay's mother picked up, Molly said, "Hey, is Clay with you? He said he was stopping by last night. I heard him leave. Is he with you?" And Clay's mother would say, "No, he's not here. And in fact, I didn't even know he was going to be stopping by last night. I haven't heard from him." The drive from Molly and Clay's house to Clay's mother's house was 40 miles of twisting, fairly dangerous highway. Now, Clay regularly made this trip to and from his mother's house, and so Molly was never that worried about him going on this 40-mile stretch. But suddenly, without saying it, both Molly and Clay's mother were thinking the same thing. Did Clay get into a car accident last night on the drive to his mother's house? And so at some point, Clay's mom on the phone tells Molly to stay calm, stay at the house with your kids. I'm going to get in the car. I'm going to drive the route that Clay would have taken back to you.
Yeah, please.
Yep. And as soon as the two women hung up, Clay's mother ran to her car. She jumped inside. She turned it on. She peeled out of the driveway and began speeding those 40 miles back towards Clay and Molly's house. And she had only gotten about halfway along this trip when up ahead she saw all these flashing blue and white lights. She saw crime scene tape across the whole road. This was a section of the highway that was heavily forested on either side, and she could see traffic was backed up very far on the other end and as well on her side. And so, of course, Clay's mother is thinking, this is my son. He's been in an accident right here. And so she pulls over to the side of the road. She throws it in park. She gets out and runs to the nearest police officer and begins frantically asking them, what's happened here? What's happened? And as she's talking to the officer, she notices behind him there's all this smoke coming up from the forest. There's a fire down in the forest. And so she's craning her neck to look down and see what it is. And the officer tried to stop her, but finally she pushed past him. And she looked and she saw there was a car on fire that clearly had flown off the road. And so in a total panic, she begins asking the officer, do you know who it is? Is it my son? Is it Clay? The officer told her to please calm down. We have no idea whose car this is. We're trying to figure it out. The fire department hasn't even put the fire out yet. We don't know enough to tell you anything. But at this point, Clay's mother could not wait any longer for answers. And so she turned around, she ran back to her car, she hopped in it, and she made her way around this big police barricade and sped the rest of the way to Clay and Molly's house. And there, she picked up Molly, she drove her back, and when they got there, both women are totally hysterical, but they run right up to the police tape, and they look down in the direction of where this fire had been, which now had been put out. There was just smoke coming off of this car frame that had been totally burned out. And immediately, when Molly looked down there, she recognized the car. Or I should say, she recognized the shape of the car because the fire had totally eviscerated the car. But Molly, she was seeing the frame was about the right size, and she was seeing that strewn around this burned out car were all these paperback books that had been burned up partially in this fire. And she knew that Clay had likely been on his way to his mother's house with all these paperback books inside of the vehicle. And so she knew this had to be Clay. And at the same time that Molly is having this horrible realization, the fire department down below was able to actually get into the burned out vehicle. They opened up the door and they found right away there was a body in the driver's seat. And so between the size of the body, all the paperback books that Molly said, that would be something Clay would have, along with several other personal effects that were found inside of the car, like Clay's prized Harley-Davidson pin that he always wore in his hat. It was obvious that this was Clay.
We live in a world full of hidden mysteries.
Oh, man.
Social platforms
That's
and
sad
devices.
right there, man.
Countless files in different formats
Sad.
When word spread,
Y'all, if y'all driving at night, please be careful because, don't go out driving when you're, sleeping, and don't, go out late at night because people be wilding. It don't even have to be you. It could be somebody else that drove you off the road. You know what I'm saying? People really be crazy like that on them highways and stuff like that. Y'all please be careful. If y'all do have a vehicle, please be careful because people out here be crazy. Or you could just fell asleep behind the wheel, but we don't know what the cause was, so we gotta definitely see.
About Clay's death, Molly's neighbors and friends in Leander jumped into action.
We gotta see what led up to this with Taco Bell because I feel like what did this have to do with Taco? We gotta see.
Molly in Leander.
I feel like we can't jump to conclusions just yet, though. Like something else probably had to happen or something.
Since she had married Clay, she had really found some more confidence and just seemed happier. And so it was totally devastating to see Clay be pulled from her life like that. And so very quickly, the community in Leander raised $1,000 and they gave it to Molly and her kids. And then also neighbors began dropping off food and stocking their fridge with groceries. And even though Molly couldn't even eat, she was so grief-stricken from the loss of Clay.
Heck yeah, man. I wouldn't be able to eat. I'm sorry.
But as the community
rest in peace, man. Rest in peace.
Through this difficult time, the police were starting to ask some questions about how exactly this crash that had killed Clay actually happened. Because there were some oddities about the scene of the accident. The biggest being, there were no skid marks on the road, which meant Clay had not hit the brakes before swerving off the road and crashing down in the trees below. And secondly, they didn't really understand how the fire that had started after this crash had gotten so incredibly hot that it basically had completely melted away every part of the vehicle save for the frame, and also Clay's body had been totally destroyed. I mean, the authorities had seen fires after car accidents, but nothing like this. This looked very unique. And so investigators started to wonder if they were really dealing with a car accident, or if this was a murder. And on June 22nd, just 4 days after Clay was found, investigators would learn from the crime lab that their suspicions had been correct.
It was a murder?
We did a merch drop last year, and the gear was awesome. I was so happy with it. But the shipping times were ridiculously long. We had big until supplies run out. Thank you. It would turn out there was lighter fluid found all over the front seat of the car, so that was the reason the fire had gotten so big. And then during the autopsy, Clay's lungs showed that he had not ever inhaled any soot, meaning he was dead when the fire started. And so very likely, Clay was murdered and the car accident was staged. And interestingly, when word started to get out in town that Clay's death seemed suspicious and that maybe he was murdered, it turned out nobody was surprised. Because even though Molly adored Clay and thought he was a great father, most other people in Leander hated him. He was known around town to be this totally short-tempered guy who would just pick fights with people out of the blue. In fact, at Clay's own funeral, his literal best friend stood up to eulogize him, and during this, he said, "I think honestly, the world is a better place without Clay." And so, investigators...
Oh no, that is wild.
That is so much
That hatred. Is wild.
So much hatred right there.
I just couldn't imagine.
So much hatred.
If there's if I feel some type of way about somebody and I know they passed away, just keep it to yourself. Don't make it worse than,
Yeah.
For somebody to hate you that much, to go to your funeral and say the world is a better place without you, what do you be doing?
I don't even
For someone to hate you that bad?
Yeah, I'm just speechless on that one. I'm just speechless.
I know dissing people on dissing dead people is a thing now, and it's not cool. Mm-hmm. It's not cool. That drill music.
Yep.
I know people love drill music, but y'all, that thing is not good. Talking about the dead is not good. Because it's going to come back on you. Don't talk about the dead. That's not cool. It's just weird for you to do that. And you're doing it for clout. That's the thing that's sad about it. But for you to go up there to that podium and say the world is a better place, or you could just cut that to yourself. Because I felt like the wife must not know something that everybody else knew. You know what I'm saying? Like, he must have been different to her, but to everybody else, he must have been a prick. Yeah. But it's still sad, though, that somebody's gone. Just keep your comments to yourself. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like, what did he do to people?
And looking into Clay's background to see if they could find connections with people that might have a grudge or some reason to be mad at Clay who might want to do him harm. And very quickly, investigators found something. Just 10 days before Clay was found, he had pleaded guilty to sexually assaulting a 7-year-old girl. But the sentence he received was incredibly light. He was given 30 days in jail.
How? No, he sexually assaulted some
which he had not served yet. And
Yo.
Now,
wait a minute, we gotta see. We can't,
7-year-old girl was absolutely furious about Clay's light sentence. And in fact, just a couple of days before Clay died, the father threatened to kill Clay. So investigators quickly tracked down this father, and they brought him in for questioning. Very quickly, this father made it clear to police that yes, he hated Clay. Yes, he had threatened to kill Clay, but no, he had nothing to do with what happened to Clay. And the father had an alibi to back that up. And so, after confirming his alibi, the police somewhat reluctantly allowed the father to leave, even though to a lot of them he just really seemed like the slam dunk primary suspect, but he couldn't have been. And so with him out of the picture, the police were kind of back to the drawing board. And so they decided they would actually go talk to Molly and see if maybe she could shed some light on who else might have wanted to hurt Clay.
Hey,
Now, in their previous conversations with Molly, police found her to be incredibly polite and also at the same time very, very upset about the death of her husband. But this time, when investigators showed up at Molly's house and she brought them into her kitchen where they sat down to talk, it was like the police got a totally different Molly. And it happened as soon as they asked her, you know, hey, who do you think could have hurt your husband? It was like Molly suddenly became impatient. She didn't have time for these questions. And finally, she just said, you know what? I think Clay was depressed because he had that prison sentence that was coming up that he didn't want to serve. And so probably he just killed himself. I think that's what happened. And so now I need you guys to leave. And so the officers didn't make a fuss. They didn't fight Molly on this. They just got up. They left. But once they were back out in their car, they looked at each other, and they both agreed that Molly's behavior was very suspicious.
Yeah.
Maybe she actually knows more about what happened to Clay.
Very
She's
suspicious.
kind of trying to cover it up and make the police go away.
Because for your boyfriend or husband to die and you're just acting like that's weird. Like, was there more to it? Like we gotta see.
And over the next couple of weeks, as police began investigating Molly, they discovered quite a bit of evidence that made them even more suspicious of her. For one thing, there was Clay's $110,000 life insurance policy that Molly was entitled to, and Molly had apparently been calling the insurance company nearly non-stop every day, trying to get them to wire that payment.
Yeah, that's more suspicious.
And Molly apparently was telling people in town how excited she was about getting that money. Also, police learned, after talking to Molly's neighbors, that Molly was starting to date again already, just 3 weeks after her husband has died.
Wait a minute! Wait a minute! I feel like, someone had it out for him. Oh, God!
One of her boyfriends.
This is just too much of a coincidence.
Her 2 kids. And according to Molly's babysitter, this new boyfriend that was coming into the house was really upsetting Caleb, the 4-year-old, who had been so close with Clay. The babysitter would say that Caleb, who normally was a very mellow child back when Clay was still alive, was now very violent and emotional, and periodically he would just stop, look up into the sky, and scream, "I love you, Daddy!" But when the babysitter brought this up to Molly and said, really, you should get your son some help here, Molly got angry and said Caleb was fine, it was none of her business, and then she slammed the door on the babysitter. But despite how suspicious Molly now seemed, there wasn't any real evidence that actually linked her to Clay's death. And so finally, in the fall of 2004, so several months after Clay's death, and still the police have not figured out who killed him or how he died and how he wound up in this inferno by the side of the road, they decided to kind of reinvigorate this investigation into Molly. They really wanted to find evidence that she was involved in Clay's death. And so they decided to put a surveillance team on Molly 24/7. And at first, the undercover police would report that Molly's behavior was incredibly routine. She basically did the same things every single day. She got up, she got the kids out the door, she went to work. Afterwards, she picked her kids up from the babysitter, she went home, she fed her kids, and then they all went to bed, and they did it all again the next day. The only deviation from her schedule was periodically she would go out after work to run some errands, like go to the grocery store. But then, on December 3rd, so 6 months after Clay was found, Molly would finally break her routine. On that day, Molly, on her way home from work, made a pit stop in this parking lot near several local stores. So she parked her car, she got out, but then instead of walking into one of these stores to run an errand or something, she walked to a dark-colored Mustang that was parked in the parking lot as well, and a guy was driving it. This guy the cop didn't recognize, with dark hair. Molly walked up to him and began talking to this guy through the window, and then at some point Molly began very suspiciously looking over her shoulder like she was trying to see if anyone was watching her, and then she walked around and climbed into the Mustang with this guy. She shut the door, and then the two of them drove off together. And so the undercover police officer followed after them, and eventually the Mustang...
That must be the mystery, man.
I know, Shorty. I know he was a bad guy. He is a bad guy because you, girl, like you deserve no sympathy if you did that. If he did that, I think he did. He did. I think he did.
Man.
But if he did that, bro, you deserve no sympathy at all for doing that. And I feel sorry for them kids.
Yeah.
I really feel sorry for them
Mhm.
kids. And to everybody who's dating, especially the females, y'all please watch out who you're dating.
Mhm.
Because you don't know what type of man that you're bringing around your kids or what type of woman that you're bringing around your kids.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like, you got to be cautious of that because one day your kid could be acting normal and then the next day your kid could be scared or not saying nothing around your spouse. And you be looking like what the, you know what I'm saying? You got to catch on to stuff like that. I know love makes people blind and stuff like that, but you got to catch on to stuff like that. Because if you don't catch on to stuff like that, y'all might be missing something that could really be something serious. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like, homie literally, a 7-year-old girl, I'm a blur out.
Mm-hmm.
He did that to a 7-year-old girl. What makes you think that he wasn't about to do that to them little boys or little kids that you got?
I don't even know, man.
You gotta be cautious with who you're dating. I'm just being honest.
Yep.
Like, you could be dating the most crazy man.
And this guy
Let's see
pulled
what
into
happens.
the parking lot of a Taco Bell, a fast food restaurant.
Hmm.
And so they stopped, they got out, and the undercover officer watched as the two of them casually walked inside of the Taco Bell. They ordered some food, and they sat down by the window to eat. And so by this point, the undercover officer, he's not seen anything incriminating happening here, but what he's seeing is such a break from her routine that it just seemed really suspicious, and he wanted to go inside and have a look. And so he called for backup from another undercover officer who was part of the surveillance team. He came into the parking lot, and then the two of them, these two officers who are wearing plain civilian clothes, they both got out of their unmarked vehicles, and they casually walked into the Taco Bell, and they got in line to order food. And as they were standing in line, one of the undercover officers casually turned around in line and very nonchalantly scanned the room, like he was looking at nothing in particular. But in reality, what he was doing was taking a quick glimpse at Molly and this guy she was with. And when the officer took this quick glimpse, he noticed something very strange about the guy that Molly was sitting with. Something that the officer hadn't seen before, but now that he was up close, he could see it. And as soon as he saw this strange thing, the officer tapped on his partner's shoulder like, all right, we're doing something here. The officer reached down, put his hand on his concealed gun underneath his shirt, and then he walked.
Homie must be dangerous.
Yep.
Homie must be dangerous. If you seen his face, or you just seen how he looked, y'all, he must have been somebody that y'all was looking for.
Yep.
Homie is dangerous, whoever that
Across
is.
the restaurant, not even pretending to be undercover at this point. He's basically giving away that he's a cop. He strode right over to their table, and when he stopped in front of them, Molly and the guy she was with both looked up at him in surprise, and the officer just stared down at the guy. Not at Molly, just at the guy. The strange thing the officer had caught when he looked over at the guy was that he recognized him. This was someone he knew personally from being in law enforcement in the area. This guy was Clay Daniels, Molly's supposedly dead husband. He had just clearly dyed his blonde hair black. It would.
Oh my god. Done.
Yeah, I'm done.
Done.
I'm done.
Done.
Yo.
Done.
Oh my.
Done. Done. Done.
Oh my.
Done. Done. I got a good question. Who the was in that car? Who was in that car? Who was in that car?
It was him.
Who was in that car?
Turn out Molly and Clay had staged his death in order to keep him from having to serve that prison sentence for the sexual assault charge, and so they could collect on the $110,000 labor.
Oh! Oh! Y'all from
That's evil.
Oh! Y'all both
It was the body of an 81-year-old woman who Clay had dug up from some isolated cemetery, thrown inside of his vehicle, and
That is evil right there.
and lit on fire with lighter
Yo,
fluid.
that is so evil. Yo.
Road, because again, this was not a car accident, it was staged. And so
Yo,
after
that is-
Clay and Molly staged Clay's
Oh!
it actually worked.
Yeah.
People really believed
Oh, y'all some
Oh,
evil motherfuckers!
how he
Yo.
but
Oh, y'all
it
evil!
wasn't Clay. And so their plan was working.
Wow.
So you're telling me?
Wow.
You telling me? you did all of this, right? You did all this faking the death thing. So you're supporting that he is a pedophile.
And another thing,
You're supporting that he's a pedophile.
Dude, you done vandalized somebody's grave.
You dug up somebody's body
Just so you can get
some life insurance money, and you want to have to go to... Throw away the key for both of them.
Yes.
Both of them.
Yes.
Both of them. Take away them kids. Throw away the key. Gone.
Clay and Molly just couldn't stand to be apart any longer.
Y'all some sickos.
Dyed his blonde hair black.
Yes.
That was the only thing he did to disguise his identity. And then he just moved back into the home with Molly.
And then what make it so stupid, bruh? What made it so stupid?
What makes you think
all the looks you could have changed yourself, you just dyed your hair?
Yo, you really,
Bruh, you can tell how I'm gonna look if I cut my hair bald. Yo, you can tell how I'm gonna look if I dyed my hair different, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know how I look without the mask on. If you see my hair white, you're still gonna know who I am.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm your brother. Bro, you telling me you just dyed it? You could have at least shaved it.
Or grow a beard or something.
Y'all some idiots.
Yeah,
Y'all some idiots.
All the things I
And
heard.
then you dug up a body?
Yeah, you vandalized the grave, dug up the man. Yo.
Y'all some sickos. There is some sick motherfuckers out here. For some, don't y'all. I know love is blind, but god damn.
Oh my. Yo, that's. Yeah, they gotta go.
Love is not. Don't be blind, y'all. And money is not everything.
It ain't, man. Dude. I never heard of anything like this, man. Like,
oh, y'all
people would do anything, and I mean anything
for money, yo, for money.
Yeah, I don't.
And you're a pedo? Oh yeah, bro.
I don't got no words for that. None.
You're a pedo. Oh, I turned the volume down. Wait a minute. I'm so mad. All right, my bad.
Disguise his identity.
You're a pedo.
Moved back into the home with Molly and the kids. And so that was the new boyfriend that neighbors were seeing Molly with.
Man, I'm so mad. I'm getting hot in this shirt, bro.
She was just
I'm getting hot in this shirt. I'm so mad.
Robbed and vandalized her grave.
Recognized that his father was back, even though he had black hair. But Molly and Clay had convinced the little boy that Clay was not really Clay. Instead, this was the new boyfriend, Jake. This is very likely why Caleb had begun acting out. He was old enough to understand that something wasn't right, but not old enough to understand that his parents were lying to him. It's unclear why Molly and Clay, who lived together shamelessly, decided
I can't watch this no more.
I can't either.
I can't watch this no more. I can't.
Go to Taco Bell and eat together. Regardless, it was this secret meetup that ultimately led to them getting caught. Molly and Clay were both charged
This is some
with
sick
fraud, and they both pled guilty. Molly was sentenced to 20 years in prison, and Clay was sentenced to 30 years in prison, plus 20 more years for probation violation.
Ah, that's what the you get. That's what you get.
Molly has since been paroled, while Clay is still in jail.
Weirdos. Y'all some weirdos, man.
If you got something out of today's episode, be sure to check out...
Yeah, please like, comment, and subscribe, and show Mr. Ballin some love, man. You already know. Yo, we gotta end this, y'all. I'm getting hot. That got me mad. You did this, you did that. Oh, man. Oh, man. Y'all, money is not the root. Man, money is the root of all evil, y'all.
Yup.
Money is the root of all evil.
Most definitely.
And please don't be blind to love. Because you'll be so blind into love that you will do something stupid for somebody.
Yup.
Don't be that blind, y'all. Please realize, like, alright, this is going too far. You know?
Yep.
You dug up a body.
You basically vandalized her grave.
You raped a little girl.
You lock them up and throw away the key, man.
Both of them. They're both done. After that, y'all gonna be labeled as weirdos. Don't think you're coming out of jail thinking everything's gonna be easy after that.
Yep. Now everybody knows exactly.
Like, y'all some weirdos. Yeah, y'all.
But anyway,
please like, comment, and subscribe. Join Anime Horror Gang for more videos. You already know, man. We love y'all so much, man. We love y'all so much. Peace. We gotta go. This is disgusting.
Yeah.
We gotta go. Bye, y'all.